Hello. First things first, I have to tell you, I don't typically post videos every single day. It just seems that way right now. Well, because it has been. I had a little bit of a fall a couple weeks ago, cracked my ribs, so I've been laying around. And then this whole new thing that's been happening with you new people here. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Anyhow, I wanted to take a moment to kind of explain streets in LA, man. I got a whole congestion thing in front of me here. It's going to be a hassle. So I don't know exactly what I'm going to say in these videos. I usually have an idea of what I want to talk about, and then I just start talking, and then hopefully I get to the point I want to make. But on the way there, you know, I misspeak, I get details wrong, you know why? Because I'm a human being. That'll be the difference. That's how you'll be able to tell the difference between real humans and AI down the road, because the AI is getting so realistic, you know. They'll never be able to flub the way I do. You'll always know it's me and I'm real, you know. I did a video the other day, the point of which I eventually got to at the end of the video, which was just how when you're young, in your upbringing, I believe if you're exposed to more hardship and disappointment and even violence, it prepares you better for the real world, right, as a grown-up. And I believe that. I stand by it. But I started the video out with a situation with a friend of mine who'd been arrested, and I told these details. That all came to me from a third person. I posted the video, then I talked to the guy that it happened to, and those details are not accurate. What happened was worse, and he's dealing with that, and he's going to be fine. It's going to work out for him. But the point I wanted to get to with this is that's how my videos are sometimes. Like, I'll bring something up that helps me. Like, it's like a mechanism for me to get to the eventual point, because that's, I find, more entertaining, right? Especially for you guys. And again, thank you. The amount of, like, the last few days, I've just spent every day on all day long on the computer practically, responding to comments and emails and messages and all that. And apparently, you guys actually like what I'm putting out there. Like, who knew? Who knew? It's great. It's awesome. So let's hit you with another one. Let's hit you with another one. So I had this other thought about how we perceive ourselves, right? Because how you perceive yourself is not necessarily, and almost always never, how other people perceive you. You know, a lot of people are just not that self-aware of themselves, even physically. That's me. It's I have like body dysmorphia or something, right? Where I look at myself and I almost never see myself as other people see me. What do I mean by that? I mean, like, I'll hear people give me like compliments on physique or something, and you know, I don't really see that. I'm not that, believe it or not, I'm not that full of myself, you know. I hate the way I sound, the way my voice sounds inside my head. I don't even like. And there's many times where when I hear myself on screen, I don't like it because I'm talking more out of the higher part of my throat or my nasal passage or something, you know. And so it's something I have to be aware of and work on. But you know, and I've actually was talking to a YouTuber the other day about her YouTube with that, and giving her some suggestions about how, like, she could put a camera a certain way to give the best angle of her, and, you know, be aware. Like with me, a lot of times I'm shooting video in wide angle, and if I'm off to the side of the screen, I'm like, I look twice as thick as I actually am. All that stuff, you know. And this gets into play with, I just did a short drive, so I'm going to sit here and let the van run for a little bit. It's not good to drive your car and do short runs and not let it kind of, let the seals fill up with oil and all that. It's been sitting here for a couple days. So if you are unaware of your physical stature, the way other people see it, that could lead to misunderstandings of things in your interaction with other human beings, and namely even with the cops. Like, think about it. Like, let's say you just happen to be amongst your friends, like normally you're like kind of a maybe for the sake of humor, I'll give you a story. Right, I got a friend when we were kids. Well, actually, we were in our 20s. This was like after I was out of the service, and we come from a tourist town. This is a funny story. And we're cruising the strip right along the ocean with the boardwalk and everything. And he's, you know, the car's full of people, and he's driving. And we have the window up a little bit. We got music playing. And in front of us, we have what we would call a rent-a-cop. Like back then, the town hires these guys. They're not real police officers. They go through like a 2-week training course. They're not armed. You know, they're like glorified meter maids, but they really do help the town. The town needs them. And they drive these things called Cushmans, which used to be these little 3-wheeled vehicles that were gas-powered. Like you're sitting in a little cab. It's got like a little truck bed hatch thing in it. And my friend's driving, and he's pretty much on this dude's ass, right? And the guy stops the Cushman. He's a cop. He gets out, walks up to the window, and he says, "Hey, can you roll the window down a little bit?" And so my friend just like barely cracks the window. And the cop's like, "Hey, can you roll down the window a little bit more?" And he just barely cracks the window a little bit more. And the cop's like, "Can you roll down the window?" He rolls down the window. Then he says, "Hey, can you turn down the music a little bit?" So he goes over, he just like barely turns the knob. Cop's like, "Can you turn off the music?" Turns off the music. Cop says, "Do you have any idea how close you were to me?" And my friend says, "Well, officer, the law is 1 car length for every 10 miles per hour. You were going about 4 miles per hour. I was at least 3 feet away from you." And the cop looks at him, doesn't say a word, kind of puts his head down, walks away, gets in the Cushman, drives away. To which the reaction of the peanut gallery in the car is hysterical laughter. Now, that was a funny thing, and there was no harm, no foul there. But if that's kind of like your mindset, and then you also happen to be of a certain stature, and I'm not saying that anybody deserves anything like this, but depending on what the scenario is, if you come across that way, and you happen to be over 6 feet tall and 240 pounds or more or something like that, the police don't know you personally. They don't know who you are. They don't know what's going on in your mind. To them, that's not entertaining. That's just kind of like, the fuck's this guy's problem, and is he dangerous? You may not be dangerous at all. You might not have ever hurt a fly and be the nicest human being, but they don't know that. And the thing with the cops, and I've done videos on this subject before with dealing with the police, because, you know, no big surprise here. If you're wondering if I've ever been arrested, yeah. Yeah, plenty of times. When I was younger, I haven't been arrested in decades. Every time I got arrested, I was with other people. I was with other people, dumb people, doing dumb things. And most of the time, I mean, maybe every single time I got arrested with other people, dumb people, doing dumb things, they got beat up. You know who didn't get beat up? This guy. You know why? Because I shut my mouth. I didn't mouth off. I wasn't a wise ass. None of that. Again, I don't think it's right, but that's what they do. Everybody knows this. That's how it is. All right? These guys, they're trained a certain way. They're carrying a friggin' firearm. They are the authority, whether you like it or not. You know, whatever your issues are with that, what you think they need to go through psychologically or whatever, training, fine. Bottom line is, you know, I was told this as a young person. I grew up around men, you know, like hardcore war fighters, that kind of thing, badasses. And they always would tell you, listen, when you're dealing with the police, this is what you do. You know, you be polite, be nice, listen, comply. You don't know what is going on in the cop's mind that has nothing to do with you. Like, what if you happen to look like somebody they're looking for? What if you're driving a vehicle that is a vehicle that they're looking for? It fits a description of somebody just kidnapped a kid or robbed a bank or shot an officer. You don't know what that officer just did 20 minutes before he delivered a baby. Or, you know, some horrible thing happened, or maybe his personal life, right? We're all human beings. We're all susceptible to moods, and you know, our interactions with other humans are going to be based upon our experience in life, whether real or perceived, right? There's a whole thing going on here with us as human beings on the planet. You can't interact with other people naturally assuming that they're on the same page you are, or that they had the same upbringing, or they think the same way you do about things, because they don't. They're not gonna. That's why we're tribal, right? It's like people find themselves in groups of other people based upon common interests, likes, senses of humor, that sort of things. Why some friendships can last longer than others, because you have that. Most of the time, your friendships last because of common things that you did when you were younger, even if you've grown apart in like how you perceive the world based upon how you came up. Like if you come from an area where you have all these friends, but nobody ever really left, odds are you're all still pretty good friends and tight and talk and you have all this. Now, if you grew up and there was a group of people that stayed in one place, but then several other people moved away early in life and had all these other bizarre experiences, like I have, like living in a big city and traveling the world and doing all these other, you know, crazy things, like that's going to shape your mindset. You're not going to identify as much with your friends that you came up with in some small little safe town. You know what I'm saying? So now when you hang out with those people, it's great because it's a vacation from this whole life you've been living for decades since then. That's why you do it. It brings up happy memories. You laugh. You know, I was going home for like 5 years in a row up until last year. It was pretty amazing and fun. It was weird because I had a very atypical, I've been living alone since I was 14. And it might be hard to believe, but I used to be kind of a handsome guy, you know, when I was young and clean shaven and not all, what's going on here, man? That's another thing. You can't, if you do YouTube, don't look at yourself too much. Don't watch your videos. You'll be like, what the hell's going on? Oh my God. It's not a good thing. But, we grew up in a tourist town, and I had a lot of, experiences, let's just say, and to the point where apparently it was atypical, but I didn't know that. I thought all my friends were doing the same thing I was doing. I was talking to one of my buddies a few years ago. He's like, "No, Mike, nobody was doing what you were doing. You're a fucking legend, man." Not that I was trying to be. To me, I was just doing what I was doing because life was presenting these opportunities to me that I didn't understand, and who am I to deny anybody, you know? If there was a really pretty girl smiling at me and she liked me, in a couple minutes we were making out, and things would progress from there. And so these things were happening. It was crazy. And you're working on the boardwalk. I was basically a carny every summer as a kid through high school. One win, one time, right here. Who's going to be the next lucky winner? And you're calling people out and talking to them. And I was working skill games like the first season. It was not good. You know, you're ripping people off. That's your job. It's terrible. I feel guilty about it. I worked the kiddie rides, worked other skill games, worked the wheels, all these things. And that shapes your mind in a different way. That turns you into a very quick-witted person. Boom, funny, gregarious, all these things you develop from that sort of experience, you know. It's interesting. I just had a thought that popped in my mind and then fleeted right the hell out the other side of my head that I wanted to touch on. So I just want to point out how what I'm saying to me seems harmless and innocuous and like common sense. And however, depending on who you are, if you're listening to this, you may be offended by it. You might take something I've said out of context or attach your own personal whatever to it, which in your mind, it turns it into a whole other thing in your head, which is not my intention. Like, it's never my intention to upset anybody. It's never my intention to piss anybody off. It's, I'm not really wired that way. and I got a cousin. He and talked to him for a long time because he just smokes too much grass, right? From the moment he wakes up in the morning to the time he goes to bed. I don't know if he's doing this now. This is then. Probably fine now. But you can't tell me, you can think that waking up and smoking grass and smoking weed every 20 minutes of the day while the sun is up, you know, and all through the evening until you go to bed is okay and you can function, and maybe you do, but there's nobody, there's no doctor, there's nobody who's going to say that doesn't affect your perception of reality and your interactions with other human beings and all of that, because it absolutely does. Just because maybe nothing bad has happened to you while you've been doing this, that doesn't mean it's not affecting you, right? Cooking in cast iron. So, you know, that's a thing. I'll tell you, like, I mean, this guy, my cousin, he's just, I mean, I hate to put, I'm not trying to put him on blast, but I just remember we went to the city one time and he wanted to go and do something. I said, you shouldn't do it. And he did it anyhow, and he ended up getting pinched, you know, spending a couple nights in jail in the city. It wasn't cool, man. So, you know, those things happen. And actually, we had a bunch of other issues because, you know, he accused me of, like, spinning things and all that, because his take on it, from being in that state of mind, was not what the reality was. He was accusing me of all kinds of things that was not, and none of that was even in my mindset. So there is a little bit of a danger to that. It's no different than people who drink too much, or, you know, even worse. Maybe somebody who's doing heroin all the time or something like that. I'm not lumping marijuana use in with hardcore drugs or anything like that. I'm not dumb. And I hate when other people do that, because they're not the same thing. But too much of anything is not, you know, you would think that's common sense, right? It's not great for you. So I just wanted to put that out there, you know, how perception of the world, and as what I'm saying here right now, it's some of you could take this the wrong way. I see it in the comments a lot. People are reading into something that wasn't my intention at all, and usually I try to catch it and straighten it out, just because I don't like the idea of the wrong idea, you know, being out there. So anyhow, so 4 eggs up, a little salt, pepper, some mozzarella, some Swiss. I like this stuff here. You know, a little turmeric. They say turmeric will get into your system better in the presence of pepper. A little garlic powder. Little basil in there. The Greeks love their basil. I got basil seeds from Greece. I got to plant one day. And parsley. Parsley is actually supposedly helps with your testosterone, if you could believe that. Speaking of, I'll cover this. Let that cook for a bit. This video is all over the place, just like all of my videos are. Check this stuff out. This is no joke, man. I've been taking this a couple weeks before I fell, and then since then, and it's been keeping me much tighter in the midsection. It's interesting. But I'm not doing any lifting or anything that muscle developing. In the last few days since this fall with the ribs, I've started doing more. I did 10 pull-ups the other day. I don't know if you know this, but I got to a point last year where, at, you know, 56 years old, I was able to do 20 pull-ups again. And I couldn't do that when I was 19. So I'm building back up to that. I did some push-ups this morning, and I'm definitely feeling a lot better. I have a little bit of discomfort here, but it's nowhere near what it was, so I feel much better about getting to work now. But I digress. Matter of fact, you know what? Let's just end this here. I think I said everything I need to say about that other stuff. Cooking with Mike. It's a whole new... Every time I do some weird new thing in the video, I get these things like, that's what you should do. When I'm driving the van, I got a couple people, one guy in particular, he's like, dude, that's all you should do. Just set the camera up, drive in the van, because he sees how... You'll see in some of my videos where I'm actually talking to traffic or pedestrians and whatnot when they're doing what I perceive. Who says I'm right? I am never saying I'm right about everything. But I perceive it as a dumb move. And I'm the one guy that'll tell you what you're doing is dumb. Don't be dumb. Be a better person. Be happy. Be nice to one another. I'll catch you guys in the next one.